chaos, but the street down here disappeared. The old cathedral's facing the wrong way round. There's not a lot we can do about that these days. And as I mentioned, back up behind you here, George Street is the main thoroughfare through Sydney. It goes all the way from Central Station all the way down to Circular Quay. If you can find George Street, you can't get lost. Anyone around? Hooray, French moustache man. Hence, we end up with the fountain which is meant to show our ties to the French. Awesome. From here though, we can head out of Hyde Park.
In October 1973, Sydney Opera House was officially opened by Queen Elizabeth.
So I understand.
Yeah, these are used for refreshments for performances, but they're not actually open to the public. Actually, to be honest, during Vivid Live, I told you about, it's the one time they do make the equivalent to this bar here as a public bar. People enter the outside stairs. It's not normally allowed. Yeah, so they could have meant the opera kitchen or the opera bar. It is. It can be. It's very busy. But if you go like on the weekend especially, but yeah.
That's it? This is probably their one day of glory. All right, go underneath. So you've got to make sure you keep the skin tight. Tails get taken off for hygiene reasons. They get injected against 5 different viruses they can get, such as blood poisoning. They get a nick out of the Yep. Okay. Yep. 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 No noise. They don't bark. They just stare the sheep down. They just intimidate them with that stare that they give them. And as you can see here, that awful creeping stare. Ace. Ace. Yeah. Ace, walk up. Walk up. Walk up. Walk up. Come here, Ace. Come here, Ace. Here, Ace. Here. Here. Here, Ace. Come here. Little Ace. Come here. Come here. Come here, Ace. Come here. Sit down, kid. Come here, Ace. Okay. So there you go, folks. That gives you a bit of a look. Now these ones, although they're born on the property, they're probably around. I would say
get one without the fence.
I think they've been sheared.
Yeah, I do too. I just wonder how often.
It's very thick.
Yeah, it is. It's much thicker than you think.
That's tongue. That's on heat.
find it quite interesting. It's always the girls that do it. But the boys stand back and take photos.
What I do is this is making the wheel go round, spinning this, and making my yarn go round. So all I need to do is just thread it through like this. I hold it here and just thread it through like this. And I control the length.
Is to get better. Queenstown is already start to clear. cycliste.
Turchier appeared to find his way into Milford Sound with an early sealer, or seal hunter, by the name of John Brono. By accident, came in here looking for shelter from the Perth storm. Now, the original name.
What is the engine stop?
only does it supply the township of Milford with its fresh water, but it also supplies the water that helps generate our electricity. This water is drawn from the Copland pile. And the waterfall means we're getting close to main harbour, so just on behalf of the crew and themselves.
Sorry for those.
I just didn't know what you were doing. Hi, Dan.
Hi.
Hi, Dan.
Hey, Dan.
Hi. Mirror Lake in New Zealand.
Make it move around.
Burn a little late. Okay.
Won't be up to him. Well, I'm going to see if he would fly. Because I wanted to get that orange.
Oh yeah, sure have.
Fly away, Betty. Alright, I can stay there. Are they trying to leave?
I don't know. I think they're just enjoying the birds being all over the car.
Yeah, go ahead.
Ready? Wanna fly? Wanna fly?
Well, they're not afraid.
So I know what that is.
They'll tell you in the catalog. They'll rate the smell and they'll rate the whatever. I used to have in Atlanta, we had some.
Oh. Oh, you got a good one. Far enough back that you can get some perspective. It's
Yeah.
hard to get. That was a good one.
I guess we shouldn't mess with the little babies.
this off and you're left with a concrete pillar. So that's what they used, one of the things they used. We made them, we made a cathedral out of them for two reasons. One, because we're mega cool, and two, because we can. So it's cardboard tubes of this thing. This. That's laminated within London. It is very hard to find in New Zealand. Rose window of our munted rose window in our old cathedral. 9 of those panes of glass you see open by way of remote control to give us ventilation.
Oh wow.
As to the vents at the back, and the slab that we're on has got a central heating system built in the slab, so remote control.
Towel looks good, doesn't it?
What you got in there, Jane?
I think now, this is tough right here. I'm going to take this out.
Lamb and scalloped potatoes. In the Kirby Bistro. With the Gerlachs. Check this out. All right.
That's it.
This is good.
Ready?
Oh, I've been ready. Woo! Go for it, girl. Nice. What's Jane doing?
I have no idea what that thing is.
Reverberates in the back. Do you hear it?
Yep.
Fire extinguishers?
Yes.
Cool. My gosh.
Hello, I'm Deepa Gurumurthy with BBC World News. Our top stories. A massive earthquake has just struck near the city of Christchurch. It's been felt across New Zealand. Paris marks the first anniversary of the terror attacks in which 130 people were killed. President Hollande unveils memorials. Iraqi forces say they've retaken the ancient city of Nimrud from the Islamic State group. A powerful earthquake has struck New Zealand's South Island. It happened just after midnight and reports are still coming in of its impact. According to the US Geological Survey, the quake carried a magnitude of 7.4 and it was located 91 kilometres northeast of Christchurch. Well, Roger Mousson is a seismologist with the British Geological Survey. He joins us now live from Edinburgh. Thanks for joining us. What do we know about this quake?
Well, apart from the magnitude, it's also fairly shallow. It's about 10 kilometres depth. And that means that it's got the capacity to do quite a bit of damage. Fortunately, unlike the Christchurch earthquake a few years ago, it's not directly impacting on a major city. There are some towns in the vicinity of the epicenter which will probably have suffered quite severe damage. But partly because of the high standards of building in New Zealand, probably there won't be very many casualties. It's a bit early to say exactly what fault this has occurred on. It's close to a major plate boundary, but I don't think it's exactly on it.
And you say that it's fairly shallow. What does that mean for the impact?
Well, the shallower the fault that produces the earthquake, then the more direct the impact, because the shock waves have not had so far to travel. If an earthquake's very deep, then even if you're standing at the epicenter, then you may be 50 kilometers away from where the energy is being released. If it's 10 kilometers, then you're getting pretty much the direct impact of it.
What about any risk of a tsunami as a result of this quake?
No, I don't think so. It's not offshore, and it's not very likely. I mean, the only thing that could cause a tsunami is if the shaking just offshore is strong enough to cause an underwater landslide, and that could produce a very local tsunami. But we're not going to see a sort of ocean-wide tsunami from this earthquake.
And in terms of the severity of it, the magnitude of it, where does that sit on the scale? How do you explain that?
Well, it's a major earthquake, and so it's going to be important to try and understand exactly what fault has produced this. If it's like the Christchurch earthquake and has occurred on a fault that wasn't previously recognised, then there are a lot of questions to be answered about why this earthquake has occurred today.
Okay, many thanks, Roger Bousson, for joining us live in Edinburgh. And the AP News Agency is reporting that there have been no immediate reports of major damage or injuries at the moment. In France, events to mark the fact that a tsunami warning has been issued for southern coastal areas of New Zealand's South Island after a magnitude 6.6 earthquake struck near Hanmer Springs just after midnight local time. The quake was felt around the country, with aftershocks still rattling the nation. Joining me now is Sky News New Zealand Bureau Chief James O'Doherty. James, this seems as though it's been quite widespread in varying degrees. What do we know so far about where most of the damage, if any, has been caused?
Yes, that's right, Sharon. Good evening to you. So, as you mentioned there, a magnitude 6.6 earthquake struck in Cheviot, which is near Hanmer Springs in the South Island, a depth of about 16 kilometres, so quite a shallow earthquake as well. And this has really sent shocks throughout the country. Here in Wellington, there are people standing out in the street. They've evacuated their houses because of a long, sustained 30-second shock that we felt here. Now, Sharon, it's been reported that there are no reports of buildings falling down in Hanmer Springs that we know of yet, but we have seen a lot of damage. We've seen some pictures come in now of close from Wellington. This photo was taken in Wellington, but damage throughout the nation. No reports of injuries or, as I mentioned, building collapses yet, but it's still early days here, Sharon, in regards to what we're seeing from this earthquake. Civil Defence had some issues updating their website for a time. 111, which is New Zealand's version of the emergency 000 phone number, was down. It's now back up. But the tsunami warning is in place. People are being urged to evacuate their houses if they can and just move to higher ground and be on the lookout for the possibility of a tsunami wave that might hit the east coast of the South Island, Sharon. So we'll bring you more updates on this as they come to hand this evening.
Yes, James, just looking at the GeoNet website, I mean, 4 minutes ago there's been activity reported southeast of Seddon, 6 minutes ago south of Victoria, again 25 kilometres east of Seddon, 8 minutes ago Tahipe. It sounds as though they're getting a good old shake over there in New Zealand, and it's probably going to be a long night yet. All right, James.
Yes,
James,
that's right. It's not unusual to see these earthquakes here in New Zealand, but we're seeing a lot of aftershocks very quickly now, Sharon.
All right. Thank you very much for monitoring things there, James. We'll get back to you as soon as we know more of what's going on there in New Zealand. The Prime Minister has defended a one-off asylum.
This is Newsnight.
A powerful earthquake has struck New Zealand's South Island. The quake struck at the north of Christchurch just after midnight local time at a depth of 16 kilometres. Joining me now is the senior seismologist Dan Jackser from Geoscience Australia. Dan Jackser, thank you very much for joining us at this time. At 7.9, this is certainly larger than the earthquake that decimated Christchurch in 2011. And certainly the frequency of the aftershocks seem to be worse also. Are we expecting an event that is even worse than 2011 here?
Certainly quite a bit larger, 30 to 40 times bigger in its energy release compared to the Christchurch earthquake back in 2011. Thankfully, this is a fairly remote part of the the South Island. It's actually on the interface between the Australian plate and the Pacific tectonic plate. The boundary there is quite active, and there's been magnitude 6s and 7s in this part of the world in the last 100 years of the order of about 4 or 5. So this is not totally unexpected. It has been right on the coast, so as a consequence of that, the rupture of the earthquake across the Higurangi Trench there has generated a small tsunami. But looking at the nearest tide gauge, which is right on the coastline at Kaikoura, we can see tsunami action measured on the tide gauge there of a peak to trough of about 4 metres, the first wave, and then there's been a few others that have followed, but they're diminishing in amplitude. But also Wellington, we're seeing tsunami waves hitting Wellington, somewhat smaller, of the order of 1 metre peak to trough, or about 50 centimetres in its amplitude. But noticing that the later waves are a little bit larger than the early first waves.
Okay, so is that your expectation that probably 4 metres is going to be the peak of this tidal event?
You can certainly get some strange waves occurring in all sorts of different ways as the tsunami travels over different bits of sea floor. But at this stage, the measurements are of the order of 4 metres peak to trough. Hopefully, no more will occur, but there's always the possibility of undersea landslides where tsunami action can certainly continue to happen. But these tsunamis that we're seeing at the moment, the tsunami waves that we're seeing here, are from the earthquake itself, the undersea rupture of the earthquake at the seafloor.
When we look at the Geoscience website, there seems to be some sort of activity every couple of minutes at the moment. Mm-hmm. How long is that expected to go on for?
Oh, that could go for weeks and months. Certainly for these sorts of earthquakes, we're seeing the standard magnitude. We had a magnitude 6 soon after, and there's been some high 5s, and there's been some high magnitude 4s. So they're starting to decay, but realistically, this can go on for weeks or even potentially months. So the aftershock sequence gives us an idea of where the rupture of the earthquake is, and it looks like from preliminary analysis that this initial 7.9 was on the western side of the rupture, and the earthquake appears to have ruptured to the east into the Pacific Ocean, and as a consequence, that's why we're seeing some tsunami action.
And as with these things, always, Dan, there is very little warning that comes with it.
Yes, unfortunately, earthquakes do come without warning.
We begin with breaking news. New Zealand police say one person has died after a magnitude 7.5 earthquake jolted parts of the country.
The quake struck near Hanmer Springs at a depth of 15 kilometres, and a swarm of aftershocks have since rattled the country. A tsunami warning remains in place for eastern areas.
So let me start by saying that I want to thank all of the emergency services around the country and the civil defence departments who have responded so rapidly to the earthquakes. As you're aware, a national emergency hasn't been called. It's only called under the legislation if locally it's deemed that they are not able to carry out their functions and responsibilities. That hasn't been the case. So all 16 of the regions around the country have activated their civil defence requirements and been monitoring their own local situation. In terms of firstly dealing with the quake itself, the best advice we have is probably what you know. There was a 7.5 metre, 7.5 on the Richter scale, 15 metres deep, but it also went, we think, about 100 kilometres out to sea. And that's the issue that caused the potential tsunami, was that it wasn't on land solely, it went out to sea. We know that waves were as high as 2 metres. We also know that New Zealanders responded absolutely as they should be in this instance. They didn't go down to the beach, they didn't go and ignore the warnings, they took the advice seriously. We now know that those around the country, that tsunami risk has been downgraded to coastal warnings, but we also urge people just to continue to be cautious. In terms of the areas that are most affected, that's clearly on the east coast, around that sort of Kaikoura area and inland around Colvard and the likes. We've had very limited communication communications there because that's been cut off. So we've been working through police comms during the night. We obviously want to thank everyone for the response that's been going on. Sadly, on the best information we have, there have been 2 fatalities. At this point, we're unable to give you precise information of what caused those fatalities, but as soon as we have better information, obviously we'll come back to you. I want to thank everyone who's supported.
Hello, I'm Jonathan Mann. This is CNN News Now. An extremely powerful earthquake has killed at least 2 people in New Zealand. Officials there have just downgraded a tsunami warning. The quake centered north of Christchurch. That's where a quake struck 5 years ago, killing 185 people. Elliot Sim is a civil defense spokesman who spoke with us earlier from Christchurch. He said the area was prepared for this quake.
I think many of our towns are actually very aware of the risk, and they are very prepared. I do know that Kaikoura has been hit quite hard. We do have one report of a building which is damaged, and in the Huranui district as well, the main road that goes out to State Highway 1 is badly damaged, and nobody's leaving the area.
Are you getting aftershocks even now?
Yes, we are.
How bad are they?
Anything between 2 to 5 magnitude.
You are still expecting waves up to 3 meters. How much damage, how dangerous is that?
Well, what we're saying is that at this stage, people who live on the coast need to stay on higher ground until the Ministry of Civil Defence says that it's safe to go back home.
That's your CNN News Now. Living Golf is next. You're watching CNN, the world's news leader.
Yeah.
Yep. Little chilly?
One of the features, you see, the border lapping around the back lawn. Right, this one is what we call a log staircase. It's quite bumpy.
Here we go.
Quite bumpy compared to the other one.
Staircase.
And the other one wasn't bumpy?
Goes up and then down.
Big timber.
Oh yeah.
Being originally a military machine.
Do you want me to video you?
I want you.
That one is nice. I can't hold on. You want me to video you?
Same sensation.
There we go. Now.
Keep it steady, Chuck! You got the shakes!
Break it again.
You're getting it, Jane. Jane.
Oh, here we go.
Chuck can do sound, but he is not in charge of all.
Charge of what?
We tend to get a bit blasé about it.
That's good. Thank you.
So if you keep walking around, there's another viewing area around the corner.
University and Melbourne Central Station. This is also the stop for the Heritage State Library of Victoria, which opened in 18...
But I think these are wallabies instead of kangaroos.
Yeah, I think you're right.
Same family, just smaller.
Who sang a song about wallabies?
The Beatles. Hey. Hey.
That one's standing up.
There's one standing up.
Yeah, they're standing.
Yeah, we're doing something over here. Just come right over here. There goes one out there. He's low down though.
Oh.
Oh, and then he's coming out
So the penguins wait until it gets fairly dark and it's